So I don't talk about absolutely everything I watch. There's quite a few things that I watch just for myself. Like if you noticed, I never exactly made a video on Spider-Man No Way Home. Part of that is because I felt like the market was saturated in videos. Everybody and their brother was making a video about it. But also I didn't really feel like there was much I could add to the conversation. And other times, like with this, I don't make a video because I struggle with the concept of what to make the video about. And that's because it's been a long time since I just did like a standard movie or TV show or book, so on and so forth, review. Anymore, I like to have like a hook, a catch, a focus, something to talk about specifically. Like if you look at my Bo Burnham Inside video, yeah, I talk about Inside as a whole, but I also talk about how I think Inside is fake, but that's okay. It was staged, but I like the fact that it was staged. When I talk about Shameless, I talk about the show as a whole, but primarily I focus on the finale and how I think the finale ruined the rest of the show. When it came to Arcane, I sat on this for a couple weeks and I struggled and I could not figure out how to talk about this. What is the catch? What is the focus? It is easy to talk about something specific when you don't like something about that movie or show, because then it's easy to rant about that and try and fix that aspect of whatever you're talking about. It's more difficult to talk about a specific thing on something you like because it's harder to pinpoint what you like about a show. That's where I ran into a bit of a wall when it came to Arcane, because in my eyes, Arcane is perfect. And I mean that in a literal sense. I don't mean that in like just saying, oh, this is perfect, it's wonderful, it's brilliant, it's a masterpiece. I'm not just saying it because it's a nice thing you say about something. I literally mean I find it to be perfection. When I was sitting in bed and I was talking with my wife about this show and how to make a video on it, I was like, I can't think of anything wrong with it. I can't think of a single thing that I don't like about it that I don't think was executed perfectly. And she said, why don't you make that your topic of the video? Why don't you talk about how it is one of the very few, if not the only TV show you've ever watched that is perfect down to its core? So here I am, and let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, you do not need to understand League of Legends at all to watch this show. I know because I have played maybe half a dozen matches of League of Legends over a decade ago, and I could not tell you anything about it. I played a guy called Master Yi, I think. I know there was a lady with a bow, and I know sometimes people like to hang out in jungles. And that's about all I know about League of Legends. And I was a little bit standoffish going into this because I thought, oh, it's just another video game adaptation. I don't know anything about the video game, so I'm not going to understand it. A lot of the time with video game adaptations, they kind of expect you to have insider knowledge of the video game to go into it. Not this. This at its core is just a TV show. And in fact, I think that it is better that you go into this without any prior knowledge of League of Legends, because I went into this not knowing anything about the characters. When somebody goes on screen, I don't think, ooh, 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 that is that character. That's the champion. Oh my God, it's them.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
And I don't know if this follows any existing lore for League of Legends, but I never knew it was around the next corner. I never knew about time jumps. I never knew anything was going to happen because it's not prior knowledge that I have by consuming this game that, let's be honest, has been around for a very long time. Now, Arcane is a 9-episode Netflix series released in 3 parts. And although it follows many different characters, the primary focus of this TV show is between Violet and Powder, otherwise known as Vi and Jinx. And it follows them in the ever-growing class war against Piltover and the Undercity, where Piltover is this magnificent, sprawling, rich city that thrives on technology and advancement. And the Undercity is its exact opposite of the people that don't have as much and are suffering, that Piltover is, whether some people know it or not, benefiting off the suffering of these people. It is your classic class struggle between the rich and the oppressed. Now, something very wonderful about Arcane is that it is split into these 3 different acts. So the first 3 episodes come out, that is Act 1. The second 3 episodes come out, that's Act 2. The third 3 episodes come out, and that is Act 3. But within that, each single episode is Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3 in those 3 acts. It's a bit of jargon, but I hope you're following me.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
What I love is that the first 3 episodes of this show is essentially a very long prologue for the entire rest of the show. In the first 3 episodes, you have the build up to what the actual problem for the story is, and it shows you how Vi got to where she's at, how Powder became Jinx, how she became to be basically Silco's number 2 and daughter, how Vander died, how Vi got locked up. You get the backstory of Jace and Victor and Caitlyn. You understand that this world is rather standoffish to magic, but Jace is doing what he can to bring it forward in advancement to help others.
We can't wait for progress. We need a leadership focused on the future, not the past.
And in a lesser show, this could all be done with either one episode, if we're lucky, or 20 to 30 minutes of just narrated exposition lazily given off by characters and dialogue as if it's not actual conversation. Also, in a worse show, they could have an entire 3-episode act of a prologue that feels like it drags on because it is purely leading into giving us the actual problem, which would normally happen within the first episode, and then we would have another 8 episodes to solve it, not just 6. But in this one, it is done in a wonderful way to the point where I actually saw the time jump coming. At the end of the 3rd episode, I actually was like, oh, I bet there is a time jump about to happen. And lo and behold, there was. And I wasn't even upset that I saw it coming. It speaks to how well written and planned out this show is that I saw it coming, but I was happy that I was able to see it coming. And I named a lot of characters there, which you might be curious about, because I had previously said that Vi and Jinx were the main characters of this. And while that is true, there is a plethora of side characters, many of which are probably champions, many of which I've found out are not champions. The biggest surprise to me was that Silco is an original character built for this show and is not a pre-existing champion within League of Legends. And I feel like that speaks to Arcane as a whole. Every single one of these characters is planned out and given backstory and given life, and you believe that this character existed before the show and it will exist after the show. You understand their backstory, and they are real 3-dimensional people. Every single one of them, from every side character you meet to everybody that shares as much screen time as the main 2 characters. And at no given point does their face go on screen and you're like, oh, this is clearly somebody that they are trying to sell merch for because it's League of Legends. And when I say they're 3-dimensional, I mean that no one in this show is purely good or bad. Jinx, although she thrives in chaos, she struggles with some sort of vague mental illness instilled in her from years and years of brainwashing under Silco and so much tragedy and loss and abandonment problems, and the living with the fact that she had killed her friends and mentors when she was just a young child. And you see that she wants to do good but can't bring herself to trust or believe that she is good because she's been told her entire life this is who she is a Jinx, she just needs to embrace it. Caitlyn, although she is an enforcer and she is trying her best to do what is right, she is still privileged and does not grasp the difficulties of living in the Undercity, and she often puts in her foot in her mouth because of it. Now, really quick, while I'm talking about Caitlyn, this has a wonderful... I don't like that I did that, honestly. Let me try that again. This has a wonderful relationship between Vi and Caitlyn.
And what do I have?
You're hot, Cupcake. So what'll it be, man or woman?
That I don't know if it's canon. I don't know how far they're going to take it. But me being the sappy romantic I am, I loved it. I loved the tiny little specks of their relationship and them bouncing off of each other and riffing and clearly being opposites but having a lot of attraction but leaning on each other emotionally. And it hints to the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on in the background and dialogue that maybe we didn't see, especially when Vi leaves Caitlyn and she's so distraught about it. And she says, what about us?
What about us? Oil and water. Was it meant to be?
You're just saying that.
And even though you've never actually seen a conversation of them talking about each other, there's clearly amazing chemistry there. And I don't know, I'm a shipper. I'll be 100% honest. I am a shipper, and this gives me major Korosami vibes, which I also backed that 100%. So I'm excited to see where this goes. It's interesting to see how they're balancing small tidbits of a budding relationship amongst all of the tragedy and despair that this show throws at you every single second you're watching it. It's nice little reliefs from it.
Oh,
I made myself sad.
And now probably the best thing about the show, and the thing that I'm surprised it has taken me this long to get to, but everybody saw it coming, and that is the animation. There is not enough things I can say positive about the animation. It is different than any animation style I've ever seen, and I would call it just as unique, if not more unique, than the animation style brought to us by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which, as we know, is one of the best animations we've ever seen in our life. This gives off a rather cinematic style, as you see in cutscenes from video games, which serves very well in being a League of Legends adaptation. And I understand, I've heard some people say that it is a difficult adjustment, but if you're used to video games and you're used to cutscenes, you'll get into this atmosphere and this vibe that it gives off very easily. But the animation is absolutely stunning. From the facial expressions that stand out to me in my mind, and I can picture vividly, like when Vi punches Powder in the face and you just see the despair on her face and it's ever changing. And you can see when Jinx decides to turn from good to evil, or when she's having the fight with Echo, and you see the moment that Echo sees that she is just the same scared little girl as she's always been. And yeah, I'm bringing up mainly things to do with Powder and Jinx, but she's a phenomenal character that just has a lot of depth to her emotions. But then every single action scene within this is gorgeous. It's so colorful and the music blends with it perfectly. The ones that stand out in my head the most are the ones of Vi and Savika fighting, or Jinx and Echo fighting on the bridge plays in my head on an endless loop, and I can't get the song out of my head, and it is absolutely stunning. And then the moment when Jinx is on the rooftop with the flare, I mean, it takes my breath away. It really does. I'm not being dramatic here. It might seem like I'm amping it up, but I'm going to finish this video, and I'm going to go downstairs, and I'm going to rewatch the show again. And now, I know what you might be saying. Bailey, I can name one thing you're not going to like, and you're wrong. I love the intro song. Hot take here. Imagine Dragons is pretty good. Why are we shitting on Imagine Dragons?
I mean, look on the bright side. You don't have to go see Imagine Dragons.
I love Imagine Dragons.
I mean, I was there with everybody when we were shitting on Nickelback. That's good fun. But Imagine Dragons isn't bad. They're pretty good.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
And this intro song is a fucking banger. It's so good. I got the soundtrack to this show in my car. I listen to it all the time when I'm at work. It's phenomenal. Every single action scene is backed by a song that captures the atmosphere perfectly. I had just mentioned the fight on the bridge between Echo and Jinx, and the timing of that is wonderful. And if you take out the sound from that, it doesn't exactly give you the same feel. So the music in this just adds another layer that the animation just accelerates and makes better. And although the storylines and the plot sit within this are nothing new, it's a class warfare, it's a struggle between advancement and the old ways. It's a separation of the rich and the poor and the fight between them. And even in the relationship, it's the girl or guy from the other side of the tracks that we've seen 100 times over. But you never really think about that until you really start to just break down the core elements of the story. And the fact that they were able to take these plot lines that have been done 1,000,000 times into the ground, but make them original to the point and weave them into the story where it's not just an obvious one point to the next, speaks volumes. And then in the ending, when you have the wonderful scene around the table when Jinx eventually kills Silco and decides that she just has to embrace the fact that she's Jinx, and she blows out the council right as they're voting to make the Undercity the free country of Zaun. It's tragic and terrible, but just beautiful, and it makes me want more. I'm so insanely excited that they have a second season already in the works. But this show has made me not want to play League of Legends. Don't get me wrong. I'm never picking up that game again. It sounds like a nightmare to play. But it makes me want to consume as much League of Legends lore as I possibly can until Season 2 comes around. But at the flip side, I don't want to spoil anything for myself, and I don't know how much this actually follows League of Legends lore. But thanks for listening to my ramble and my gush about why I love this show so much, and why it has skyrocketed to one of my favorite television shows of all time, and why I believe every aspect of this is done to complete perfection. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other videos.